Welcome to Miscellaneous Papers. Today we're going to talk about bonding two surfaces without pinning. Alright, so I get this question kind of frequently, where people are trying to glue together two surfaces, but the bond isn't really that strong. It usually happens when you have a metal piece bonding to a plastic piece, and you really don't have the connection there, but the surface is kind of tiny and there's no room for pinning or putting a pin to strengthen the bond between that connection. What can you do? Well, there's this little trick that I've been using ever since, well, the 90s. It's nothing new, actually, but some people might not know it, so I thought that this video might be valuable for you guys. Alright, so it's called the tissue trick. And what you're trying to do essentially is get a small piece of tissue and put it between those two surfaces that normally wouldn't bond together, i.e. metal and plastic, and put that in between, a sliver in between. And this way, the glue actually has something to bond those two agents together. Now, one of the things that I was doing, since I finished my flesh eater quartz, I'm actually magnetizing all of the bases so this way I can transport them to places like the Nova Open. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the topic. It's good to be back on Tabletown. That's right, here I have my flesh eater quartz, and there is an uneven surface. Here we have a plastic surface right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bond these metal magnets to it. Now I cannot pin the magnets, or I would say it would be exceptionally difficult to pin the magnets onto a base. Nothing is impossible, right? Except for the impossibility, but I digress. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm marking one end of the magnetization for the polarity of the magnet, so this way I always use the same polarity on everything, so I never get confused. Some magnets actually come pre-marked, but I just take a Sharpie and do that. Here is the infamous tissue. This is the bonding agent that's going to take the two surfaces and actually make them into one, essentially, fusing them together. Now, the metal itself does not actually stick to the plastic very well. I've done a lot of PVA glue and different kinds of glue and put them together to fuse them to a plastic piece or resin to metal pieces, and it's really tough without pinning. But this little square of tissue here is actually going to soak up some of that glue and unify, since the actual tissue is really stuck on to that plastic right now, and it's going to solidify the surface area between both of those items. I'm going to put a little more glue on the opposite end of the tissue, and this way making the bond absolutely complete when I stick these two together. Now you do have to let the glue gas out. There is some frosting that occurs, and I usually leave them in the open air for 2 days like this, just so it can gas out, or leave them on the side like this on a tray would work. And the reason why is that because the glue itself emits gas. If you ever smell glue, it has an odor to it. But let's see how strong the bond is right here. Look at this. Okay, look at that. I'm just willy-nilly, just freshly painted army, just throwing it around and whatever. Like, this is secure. Now, the tray itself actually comes from A-Case. I do like their A-Case stuff. This is actually a very small case. Look how small this sucker is. They do sell a larger one. Now, they are quite pricey, I have to admit that. That's the downfall, I would think, but there is free shipping. But look how well constructed this is. I do like that, but there are a ton of different cases you can actually get. I like these because there are cotter pins. I got additional trays. I don't know why. I don't think I'll ever use all the trays that are in there, but you know, you never know. And better safe than sorry. But this is how it kind of goes. It takes up a little bit of space in there, real estate, for the Flesh Eater Quartz infantry there. But you have 2 cotter pins that go onto the side and kind of lock it into place. So I tried to actually knock these miniatures off the sliding thing, and I jostled them quite a bit. You saw in the last frame. But, having the cotter pins in there, that you can jostle them into there and it's safe and secure. Honestly, I really think the system that they have here is a pretty decent one. Plus the backing is all aluminum. It's lightweight. It's sturdy as all get out. And this stuff is just not going to fall out, Just definitely not. Very cool stuff. I like to put them on like that and then zip them up, and I do like the case that has a pocket in the front as well, carrying case. I could see myself put this into an airplane, in the overhead carrying compartment, or underneath my seat quite easily without an issue. And there you go. All right, so let's get back to Tabletown and talk about the nubs that some of these bases have. Sometimes you have some foreign objects within there that's going to prevent you from the surfaces. Well, I take the trusty Dremel tool, but you can take any kind of grinding stone and do this. It just takes a lot longer. Dremel tool is quite easy, and you see just going back and forth. Now, if you stay on one area too long with this grinding tool, you will grind a hole right through it. So just go back and forth lightly, and that's all it takes. Make sure that the revolutions of the Dremel tool has stopped before you set that down. Always. That's what all power tools. Make sure it's completely stopped before you set it down at all. All right. So, but what about the bases that have all these, I don't even know what to call them. Stability holes? I don't know. Well, that's quite simple. All right. So if you have something, shaping it with your clipping tool would be easy. And again, this is just specifically for transport, but if you have any kind of object that's in the way, snipping it out of the way and making sure the surfaces are nice and flush will definitely help you with the tissue trick. Now, the tissue trick, I found that is quite permanent. So be careful. It doesn't allow too much dry time in order for you to manipulate it around. So it kind of dries pretty quickly. You want to be able to secure your bond pretty quickly and make sure that it stays there. Because if it glues wrong, you're going to have one heck of a time trying to get it back out, Be careful with that. All right, yeah, so clipping on, if you have this base, I find clipping 2 of these things a lot easier because the magnet itself didn't fit. But you clip all the ones you want to clip, and it's quite easy to do. To magnetize your bases for transport, or to bond to surfaces like resin and plastic. A lot of things. When we used to play Warma Hordes, there was a lot of kits that had resin and it had metal pieces, and it was quite difficult in order to do it. Now, if you have an all metal model, this will work as well, to a degree. Everything to a degree. If you're trying to pin together a desk to the arm of an infantry unit, I don't know if that'll work. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, for what we use for the hobby, yeah, it'll definitely work. And this is a trick that's been around for ages. I used to use it for model cars and scale models in particular. If I had like an aftermarket pewter kind of gun to go on to, let's say, a Huey, Vietnam helicopter there, and I wanted to add some things onto it. Well, yeah, the tissue trick worked for me there, and it's just something that transfers over into our hobby quite easily. So you see, I went to the Dremel tool again, and actually I went into a needle file, and I'm just going to go in and just make sure everything is nice, even, and clean before I stick on the magnet to that. It gets kind of messy. That's one thing gets messy, so make sure you put something down. I have a workshop here, so it's not really a big deal. I'll just vacuum around it. Here's that infamous tissue, the amazing little device that will help you. Again, super glue there. Super fun to do, especially because I did the entire army this way. I do want it mobile because I do want to take it and use this army to play against Mr. Vince Venturola, because he owes me game. That's right, game on, y'all. That's right. Yeah. So it's very simple to do. Let me know if you tried it, if it worked for you, if it didn't work for you. Tell me if you want me to talk about any other kind of hobby tips or any questions that you may have. Put them in the comments below. They usually spawn new shows, so anything you want to see, I do read those comments. Put them in there, and you might have a show, and I'll shout you out if you have that question and if you want me to shout you out. All right, well, this is it. I'm just going to let this gas out, and I'm going to go on. I'll catch you on the outro. Bye-bye, Tabletown. All right, coming back from Tabletown, and here we have magnetized bases, and you can see how strong they are. I use a case, although there are a multitude of different things if you want to transport your minis to do. Even cooking sheets would work in that scenario right there. Okay, so if you enjoyed this channel and you want to support the channel, sharing is the kindest thing you can do. Sharing with others grows the channel. Okay, and if you want to support us in another way, well, I do have Amazon affiliate links down below. If you click and buy one of those items, the channel actually gets a kickback with 0 extra cost to you. All right, well, if you like this video, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.